The world's a dangerous place. Get the industry's original and most trusted laser sighting system from Crimson Trace. A laser and light systems will enhance your effectiveness and help keep you and your family out of harm's way.
I'm a gun owner.
Your views, advice, and questions are the driving force of Gun Talk.
You know, I don't think that guns are scary things.
Visit us online at www.guntalk.com. Call Tom now at 866-TALK-GUN, 866-825-5486. Let us know what you think about the gun-related issues of the day. Now, back to Gun Talk.
And we are back. Tom Gresham here, 866-TALK-GUN. Shoot me an email, tom@guntalk.com. Looking for your stories about your 16-gauge you may have owned at one point or another. Again, it's tom@guntalk.com. Also have a conversation going on right now about 16-gauge over at Twitter, where I'm at Gun Talk. And joining me right now to talk about 16-gauge is Doug Oliver from the 16-Gauge Society. Hey, Doug, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Well, listen, tell me about the 16-Gauge Society. I've been familiar with the website for some time. What is it? How did it come about?
It started about 10 years ago, and it was just basically the website came first, and then we got some loyal followers to the website. Mm-hmm. We actually have a gun forum on the website of our own. And that's the main benefit. It's just a source for guys that have 16 gauges tucked away in their gun safes to find out information on ammo and repairs and stuff. So it was really just built really to provide this gathering point of opinions and information for 16 gauge owners.
You know, for the very young out there, the 16-gauge at one point was a very popular gauge, settled right between the 20-gauge and the 12-gauge. And would you agree, Doug, that one of the big benefits of the 16 was a lot of the guns were made on smaller frames so that you had a lighter, trimmer gun, but you have essentially the same kind of ballistic performance as you get out of a 12-gauge, but in a smaller, lighter gun.
Correct. Absolutely. A 16 gauge generally, I should say, should weigh about a pound lighter than its 12 gauge counterpart. And of course, if you're chasing pheasants all day or something, that's a big benefit.
You bet.
And the 1 ounce load in a 16 gauge will pretty much handle anything, any upland bird or walk up shooting bird, at the ranges of which you're shooting. It's a terrific load for upland game.
Now, at one point, every gun maker who made shotguns chambered the 16 gauge. Not so much anymore, although there are still shotguns being chambered for 16 gauge, right?
Yes, there are. I think you have to get like a new gun now. I think you have to go to Spain or Italy to look for new quality 16 gauge. Browning has a limited editions every now and then of their 16 over and under.
Right.
There's people are still making them, and they're still popular guns. They're actually for walk up shooting, which is the American style of shooting, where we walk for the birds,
right,
rather than have them driven to us. So.
Well, one of the things you've got on your site that I like is you've got a whole hand loading area where people can find out. The truth of it is their 16-gauge ammo is loaded, but it's not always available everywhere, and it tends to be a little. Is it fair to say it's a little bit pricey sometimes?
Didn't used to be, but yeah, it's higher, and of course it confounds me as to why it's higher, because it's less ingredients, of course, and maybe it's just a shorter run when they make 16 gauge ammunition. A box of 28, a box of 28 gauge shells will cost you twice as much as a 12 gauge shell, even though it has half again less ingredients in it. So,
right.
It is. Once you find a source for the ammunition, and in fact, I just bought a couple flats of 16 gauge ammunition at a major outfitter. Once you find a source, then of course you're set. But I think a 16 gauge hunter is usually an experienced hunter, and likes likes the gun for all the reasons, some of which we talked today, should probably invest in a hand loader also. I like to do it because when I'm chasing a certain bird, I like to load them just specifically for that bird, and custom my own loads in terms of velocity and shot charge and, of course, shot size.
And I know people are saying, well, what happened to the 16 gauge? There are a lot of theories, but the one that I hear the most is that there was no skeet category for 16. There's 12 gauge, 20, 28, 410, but there's no 16 gauge category for skeet, and that was why the 16 gauge fell to the wayside. I don't know. What do you think?
I would agree. I think the manufacturers of both the guns and the ammunition were looking to trim their product lines, and it did get invited, and I think you're exactly right. I think the absence of room in skeet for a 16 gauge has pretty much killed it. I guess it's still legal for sporting clays, but not all the time.
And you could use it for skeet if you shot the 12 gauge event with it.
Correct.
And weirdly enough, I have a Model 21 Winchester 16 gauge skeet gun. So they actually did make skeet guns in 16 gauge.
I think the first skeet national championship back in the 30s, I think, was won with a 16 gauge gun.
I'll be darned, I did not know that. That's interesting. And there were some great classic guns in 16 gauge. Obviously, the Browning Sweet 16 is the one that people still swoon over.
Yeah, I have a couple of them, I love them. Yeah, it's a little odd looking gamut or over that square square receiver, but boy, once you get used to it, you really love it. And I typically shoot it at teal or smaller ducks early in the duck season. So it's I find a use for it. Yes.
And there are a lot of used guns, and one of the things I would tell people is that if you're looking for a bargain gun out there, you can sometimes get a really good deal on a 16 gauge used gun in the rack because nobody wants the 16 gauge, don't you find?
That's true. That is true. There were just a lot of 16 gauges. You know, when the 16 gauge started to die out in popularity when all the soldiers came back from World War II, and they just felt like the bigger gun, the better the gun. Mm-hmm. So it started to die right after World War II. So a lot of them went into gun safes and closets and all that. And I think one of the success stories of our society and of our website is a lot of those guns are coming out of the closets now by guys who want to shoot them, but didn't know where to find the stuff or the ammo or shoots or anything else. And our site helps make that a lot easier to get back into a 16 gauge gun.
Right. It's kind of the go-to place if you want to get information about either buying a 16 gauge gun or if you have one, you want to track some information on it. And by the way, the website is 16GA. It's 16ga.com for 16 gauge, 16ga.com. Real simple information about what's my gun, where did it come from, who's making 16 gauges, what kind of ammo can I find, how to load it, just on and on. I mean, it's just chock-a-block full of information. And I do want to, before we get out of here, I do want to mention that you can buy new guns in 16 gauge, but as you say, you're probably looking at some of the really nice Spanish over and unders and side-bys and some Italian guns out there, the over and unders and side-bys.
Right.
So that will work. Doug, listen, I appreciate you spending some time with me. The 16 gauge, I hope it lives forever, and you guys are doing a lot to keep it going, man.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun thing we're doing here.
I can tell it is. Listen, I appreciate that. All right, when we come back, we'll talk about your stories with 16 gauges. 866-TALK-GUN will give me a holler here. Larry, you're going to be first up. Don't go anywhere. Did your daddy use a 16? Did your granddaddy use a 16? I had a 20-gauge Model 12, my mama's gun, actually. But my buddy David Tarver, he had a Sweet 16 Browning, and he loved that thing. What's your 16-gauge story? 866-TALK-GUN.
Brownells proudly celebrates 75 years of history and heritage as the world's first choice for firearms, accessories, ammunition, and gunsmithing tools. So whether you're a gunsmith in need of parts and supplies, a new shooter looking for the perfect holster, or a skilled competitor seeking the latest gear, Brownells has what you need. And best of all, every purchase comes with the industry's only forever satisfaction guarantee. Visit us at Brownells.com.
The Ruger LC380 is the perfect pairing of the award-winning LC9 pistol and the popular .380 auto cartridge. The LC380 is the same size as the LC9, yet offers reduced recoil, making it Ruger's lightest recoiling personal protection pistol yet. It features a dovetailed high-visibility 3-dot sight system, 7-round magazine and finger grip extension floor plate, manual safety, and loaded chamber indicator. The Ruger LC380, another rugged, reliable firearm from Ruger.
In the field or on the range, you need a trigger you can trust. For over 60 years, Timney triggers have been trusted by hunters and shooters everywhere. A Timney trigger could mean the difference between a great shot and a miss. Timney triggers are proudly made in the USA and come with a lifetime warranty. To order, go to TimneyTriggers.com. That's TIMNEY Triggers.com.
Hi, I'm Tom Gresham. For more than 40 years, I've been watching an environmental disaster in my backyard, and it actually impacts all sportsmen in America. I'm talking about the massive loss of land on the Louisiana coastline. The U.S. Geological Survey said the swamps and marshes of coastal Louisiana are among the nation's most fragile and valuable wetlands. That land is disappearing. The Mississippi River Delta hosts as many as 10 million ducks and geese every winter. These are birds which migrate northward through the states, all the way to Canada. The wetlands of the Delta support some of America's best fresh and saltwater fishing. And here's the deal. The wetlands of the Mississippi River Delta are disappearing at a rate of 1 football field every hour. 1 football field every hour. Gone. We can reconnect the river with its wetlands and restore the Delta, but we need your help. Please visit vanishingparadise.org. That's vanishingparadise.org.
You know the name Walther is a legendary brand, but do you know the new Walther? The new Walther has introduced 3 new precision handguns. The smooth PPQ M2 is a breakthrough in ergonomics and trigger pull. The tough PPX is a workhorse at a value price. The cool, iconic PPK S22 blends classic PPK with the fun of the economical 22 LR. There is a lot going on at the new Walther. Visit us at waltherarms.com. Walther, at your favorite retailer.
Thanks for being one of the 100 million gun owners in America who support Tom Gresham's Gun Talk. Even if you don't want to be on the air, you can still email Tom with your questions or concerns at tom@guntalk.com. Now, back to Gun Talk.
We're talking about a sweet gun, a sweet gauge. We're talking about the Sweet 16. I've gotten 2 emails so far from people with stories about their 16 gauges. And interestingly enough, both of them ended up, the very last line is, what a sweet shotgun or sweet shooting gun. It is the word that is applied more often than any other to 16 gauges. I mean, you got the alliteration, of course, Sweet 16, but, I mean, 16 gauges are sweet. They really are. Line 3, Larry's with us out of Medford, Oregon. Hey, Larry, what's your 16 gauge?
Yes, I'm 77. I was with my dad when he bought it. I was probably about 5 or 6 back in Mason, Michigan, when we went into a hardware store and he bought this gun.
What is it?
It's an Ivers Johnson 16 gauge single shot. And I can put 3 rounds between the fingers of my left hand and kick 4 rounds out of that gun pretty dead burn fast.
Sounds like a lot of practice went into learning that one.
I think so.
Now, when you look at that shotgun, your dad bought that when you were 5 years old. You have all of those stories and all of those hunts and all of those memories wrapped up in that one piece of wood and steel.
Right. And one of the things I found out about ruffed grouse is at about 11:15 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
They head for water, and there was a kind of a swampy pond not too far from our place. We lived out in the country, and I used to go there about 10:35, 10:40, something like that, and wait for them to come in. And then I'd scoot them up and get two of them with two shots.
Well, the 16 gauge really is sweet. Larry, thanks for sharing your story. Pete's got his own story. He's on line one coming out of Abilene, Texas. Pete, it sounds like you may have a similar gun.
Larry, I'm not. I just listened to your caller, Larry.
Yep.
And he's 77. I'm 77. Ivor Johnson, Sweet 16. That's what I got. Bought it used 50 years ago.
Wow.
I put 3 rounds in my left hand, and I can keep up with the big boys with their with the 12 gauges. And I hunt dove, and some skeet. And that old girl will do what I ask her to do.
That is amazing. You guys are the same age, have the same gun, and you learn the same technique of keeping those rounds in the fingers of the hand that's holding the forearm out there.
That's right.
So tell me about how do you shoot it now? What do you do with your gun now?
It's just for protection now. But the problem is trying to get ammunition for it. Nobody carries 16 anymore. You know, I've got a few boxes that I bought over the years.
Right.
But I like to keep a few rounds of buckshot. And I think I've still got some number 1. I can't get double aught anymore.
Right, and that's the issue. But of course, if somebody said, "Boy, I really like this gun," you could buy the gun. You could have somebody order you a flat, get 10 boxes of shotgun shells. You'd be good for a while. So I mean, it's there. It's just that you're not going to walk into a lot of stores. You're not going to walk into them and find 16 gauge.
Yes, you're right. Walmart doesn't carry it. That's right.
Yep, that's right. All right, Pete. Thank you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I thought it was amazing that Larry and I had the same figures.
That really is amazing. Same age, same gun, same everything. You guys shoot 3 rounds in your left hand, good to go. So I am impressed. It's got to be true. So there you go. Hey, Pete, thank you, sir. 16 gauges. My first exposure to the 16 was, as I say, my buddy David. We would go hunting together, and he really knew how to use that Sweet 16 Browning autoload at A5, and I was using the Model 12, and I had a 20 gauge Model 12. Still got that gun, by the way. And he used it for not just birds, but also for deer hunting, because in the South we were using buckshot a lot, back then especially. And it did that job. But where I really started appreciating the 16 gauge was when I got a chance to, finally got a chance, that is, to pick up a double barrel shotgun that was really special, really something. It was, Dad had bought this used side-by-side LeBeau Corelli. I'd never heard of it before. I've come to know what it is. It's a really finely made, very nice Belgian shotgun, side-by-side, in 16 gauge. And I had picked up a lot of double barrels through my life. And when I picked that one up, it was like suddenly everything changed. Because I suddenly understood, because I'd picked up a lot of cheap side-by-sides. And they're kind of clubby, and they don't swing well, and all of that. And this one was trim, built around the 16 gauge, and it's just like, holy smoke, that is some good stuff. So it was special, and I still have that gun. Dad's gone, but that shotgun's not going anywhere. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about the guns that we have. We hold on to them. They have our family stories in them. Let's see. Chris is on line 3. We got time to get him in out of Wyoming. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Tom. How you doing?
I am good. What you got a proposition here, huh?
Yeah, I sure do. For people interested in shooting non-toxic shot through their 16 gauges, my supply of Kent cartridge tungsten matrix is running low. I happen to know from talking to the factory they don't have enough requests from people for more to run a current batch of it. And I'm wondering if your folks from the 16 Gauge Society might encourage their members who have similar interests to call Kent Cartridge and see if we can get enough people on board that want them to run a batch so that it will again become available.
You know, that's exactly what the guys over the 16-Gauge Society, the guys and gals at the 16-Gauge Society do. They get together and say, look, let's go approach Kent Cartridge. How many are you guys in for? And people say, well, I'm in for 2 flats. I'm in for 5 flats or whatever. And then they call them and say, all right, guys, we can buy 500 or 1,000 flats. And a smaller company like Kent, they say, well, okay, for that, we'll do this. Can I make a suggestion, Chris, is that you go over to the 16-Gauge Society website, which is, again, 16ga.com, just the numeral, 16, like 16-gauge,
right.
And throw that idea out there. I bet you're going to find a ton of people who'd be interested in that.
I'll do that. That's a good idea, Tom. Thank you.
Absolutely. Appreciate the call. Great idea. I love that thing. Let's see. Got time for Paul. Paul on line 1. We got about 1 minute for you, sir. Go ahead.
Hello. I was going to sing my praise for the Ithaca 16-gauge, the 37R. It was my dad's gun, and I've had it and shot it for the last 44 years, and it's still my go-to favorite shotgun especially for doves or quail, grouse in the woods. It's
you know what Ithaca
gun.
did? Ithaca made that gun around the 16. That's not a 12-gauge frame. That's a 16-gauge frame. That's why it feels so good.
Yeah, it swings just right. It's a good, smooth action. It's a light gun, easy to carry all day, and I really don't think it's any worse than shooting a 12-gauge when it comes to handling it and pulling the trigger. No,
I think it downs birds like a 12, and it carries like a 20, and that's, if you want to say what is it that's cool about a 16-gauge, I think that's it. It downs birds and breaks clays like a 12-gauge, but it carries like a 20, which is why people love it so much, and there's this ongoing interest in the 16. Hats off to the guys and gals at the 16-Gauge Society. If you want to know more, go check them out, 16ga.com for 16-gauge. Cool website, interesting people. You can find out more. Maybe you can even track down who made your gun, where it's from, find out more about it, because they are kind of the go-to source for 16-gauge. All right, open lines, 866-TALK-GUN. I'm Tom Gresham. This is Gun Talk.
One of Talker Magazine's 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America. You're listening to Gun Talk, heard every week at this time on great radio stations across America. Stay tuned. Gun Talk is coming right back. Covering all aspects of gun ownership every week on this fine radio station. You're listening to Gun Talk with Tom Gresham.
All right, back with you. 866-TALK-GUN. Get you in here. 866-825-5486. Talking about 16 gauges and actually anything you want to talk about. We're talking about hand loading, getting into loading. Maybe you used to load and you want to get back into it. Well, one of the things you're going to find is that right now, powder is a challenge. Loading powder is tough to find. You really got to scrounge. Do you have any particular sources that you care to divulge for powder? Where do you go for your loading powder these days? Also, still looking for your stories about 16 gauges. Lots of those out there. Let's go to line 3. Doris is with us out of Greenville, South Carolina. Hello, Doris.
Hi. Tom, I was going to tell you I've got a 16 gauge Revelation shotgun, and it's got a sawed off. It's sawed off. I didn't saw it off, but it's got a 18-inch barrel and 18.5-inch, and some says it's legal and some says it isn't. So, but I just wanted to ask you.
If it's 18.5 inches, you're legal. A shotgun has to be at least 18 inches long, so you're legal. It should be no problem at all.
Well, good. Well, I didn't want to go to jail. But anyway, like I said, it's Revelation. I think it come from Western Auto Stores years ago.
That's exactly right. That was a brand name, a house brand for Western Auto. They had a number of different manufacturers make guns for them, but they branded them all a Revelation from Western Auto, which was, I guess, I don't think the Western Auto stores are around anymore. I think maybe the whole line's gone.
I haven't seen any either. And I know that one's closed in Sparta, North Carolina, but I was wondering how much it's worth. I got one bullet. I had more in some of my kinfolks got the rest of them. I'm going to see if I can't get them back.
You need to get some more ammo for that gun if you're going to keep it for self-defense. I'll tell you, the other thing you need to do, Doris, is you got to get out and shoot it a little bit, because you can't just have a gun. You need to shoot it to make sure you know what you're doing with it, okay?
Well, it's about too strong for a woman unless it's emergency. Somebody comes in this door, and that's emergency, but it kicks like a wild mule. And, and I've got arthritis in my shoulders, but it's more for protection. And I'm scared of that thing. I tell you it is, and I've got others.
Well, Doris, let me just tell you, you need to get out and shoot it, and if you're scared of it, you need to get something that kicks less, get something that's smaller, because if you're scared of it, you're not going to use it right, you're not going to use it well, and for self-defense, I'm just going to suggest that you talk to somebody. They may even have a class. A lot of times the local police departments have classes about self-defense, and you can learn a little bit about the laws on self-defense, which I would certainly suggest everybody do that. Yes, I appreciate the call. Let me get to Lyle on line 2. Lyle's been on hold for quite a while here out of Phoenix, Arizona. Hey, Lyle.
396.
Hey, Lyle, you there? Hello, Lyle. Okay. He dropped. Okay, Lyle dropped. Let's do this. We're going to go to I want to go get John on 4 out of Doyline, Louisiana. John, you there?
Yes, I'm here, Tom.
All right. What kind of 16 gauge you got?
I have what was my grandfather's Remington 1148 semi-automatic.
Yeah.
It's a sweet shooting little gun, and I love it. My cousin used it when he was in college, probably 30 years ago. And I don't know if they used it for a beating stick to kill snakes with or to paddle with, but
it's ugly, huh?
It's pretty beat up, but I took it to a first-class gunsmith. He straightened the barrel for me, and it shoots just like it's brand new.
Well, that's wonderful. That's a very nice old shotgun. So now, are you having any trouble finding 16-gauge ammo?
A little bit, but I pick up a box here and there.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's what you got to do. John, thank you for the call. I sure appreciate that. Yeah, the 16-gauge it's kind of gotten passed up, but it still has all of the capabilities it always had. It's still perfectly good for ducks, doves, quail, pheasant. I don't care what it is. It will take care of all of it for you. And if you can find a good one, especially used, you can find some good deals out there. Don't worry about the ammo. In fact, I just got an email from somebody. He said, hey, tell them about Polywad. Yeah, Jay Menifee's operation. POLYWAD.com, polywad.com. Jay makes some really interesting spreader loads. A lot of these older guns have fixed chokes, not screw chokes, and they're very tight, or like full chokes. With Polywad ammo, they have spreader loads. You can have a wider pattern out of a full choke gun. It's very cool. He also has, if you like, some really light recoiling loads. They call them vintager loads, and I've been using those in some old shotguns and love how they perform. So you might take a look at Polywad. Jay does a really nice job with those, and you can order those and have them shipped directly to you. Polywad, POLYWAD.com. All right, be back in just a minute.
Hi, I'm Michael Bain. You know I hate cleaning guns, so anything that makes that job faster and easier is definitely a plus. And that's where Bore Tips come in. These reusable, lint-free cleaning swabs make cleaning a breeze. And the tighter-fitting Bore Tips do a better job on barrels than cotton mops or patches. Hey, it's a dirty job. Let Bore Tips help. To find a dealer, visit boretips.com.
You already know Liberty safes are great values. Now they're offering an even sweeter deal for Gun Talk listeners. At libertysafe.com, click on the Fat Boy safe and type in Tom. Liberty will give you up to $250 off your purchase. Protect the things you value most. libertysafe.com, click the Fat Boy safe, promo code Tom, save up to $250. That's libertysafe.com. libertysafe.com.
Successful hunters know big bucks move early and late, often
often when it's too dark for common scopes. When that monster steps out, you might see him through the scope, but the crosshairs disappear. All that work and you can't take the shot. But with the Trijicon AccuPoint scope, you'll get the shot. Its bright aiming point glows in daylight or darkness. No batteries needed. AccuPoint scopes are water-resistant and nitrogen-filled, feature multi-layer coated lenses for the brightest image, and you can adjust brightness of the aiming point to match the conditions. Adding 10 or 15 minutes to each end of the day can double the magic moments when the trophies move. You can't hit the target if you can't see the sights. Trijicon AccuPoint scopes. Check out the different models at Trijicon.com or call 1-800-338-0563. Brilliant aiming solutions from Trijicon.
If you're looking for a safe and trusted way to sell your firearms, look no further than Dury's Gun Shop. I trusted them to sell my dad's collection. They built their business for over 50 years on honesty and customer service. Dury's Guns will buy any size collection or estate, none too big or too small. Selling your firearms to Dury's Guns is easy. Go with the pros. I trust Dury's Guns. Dury'sGuns.com.
The Smith & Wesson Bodyguards. Carry more comfortably, walk more confidently. When it comes to personal protection, nothing beats a Bodyguard. Choose the lightweight, compact, and concealable Bodyguard 380 pistol or the Bodyguard 38 revolver, both with a built-in laser sight. The Smith & Wesson Bodyguards. Carry more comfortably, walk more confidently.
Gun Talk encourages you to support the local sporting goods store, gun stores, ATV dealers, and other local businesses in your area who advertise on this station and Gun Talk. Only together can we protect our rights. You're listening to Tom Gresham's Gun Talk.
All right, back with you. We have a number of different conversations going, so feel free to start your own. Got a gun you want to talk about? A load, reloading, scopes, optics, it doesn't matter. Slings. You know, I am of the opinion that a rifle without a sling is like a handgun without a holster. Where are you going to put it? How are you going to hold on to it? We need to do other things. You need a sling on your gun. Line 2, Jerry's with us out of Coquille, Oregon. Hello, Jerry. Talk to me about 16 gauges.
Oh, how you doing, Tom?
Good.
Hey, I was listening to you a few minutes ago, and you made a statement that you kind of thought that the 16-gauge doubles were kind of blocky.
No, that's not what I said. No.
I've got one here that I've had for 65 years.
Okay, Jerry, that's not what I said.
Oh, well, it sure sounded like it when I was listening.
No, here, let me back up. Let me tell you what I said. I said that up to a certain point, I had only handled double barrels that were clubby, and a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of American-made double barrels are a bit clubby. It just that's what I was exposed to, and then I found one that wasn't, and I went, "Wow, these are pretty good." What do you have?
I have one that's made by Crescent Firearm Company in Norwich, Connecticut. Whoever they were, nobody seems to know anything about them. It's the Peerless model,
right?
And it's a side-by-side 16, a full and a modified chokes. And I've had it. I've hunted everything that flies on the planet, I think, and
right.
And my dad bought it for me when I was 10 years old.
Now, does it have? I'm curious. Does it have single trigger or double triggers?
Double.
Okay. When you're shooting with double triggers, and this is just something I've tried to get used to, because one trigger fires the left barrel, one fires the right barrel. Do you actually switch and kind of choose one or the other depending on which choke you want?
Sure. If it's a long shot, obviously the back trigger is the full choke.
Right.
And so you just automatically learn to do that, I guess. I was taught, and so that's what I do.
It's the easiest barrel selector there is.
Yeah, it is. And if a bird jumps up 20, 25 yards away, then, it's the full choke, and otherwise it's the modified.
Right, so you can just pick which one you want, depending on which trigger you pull. The other thing, and this is something a lot of people have never given thought to, the other thing about a two-trigger side-by-side shotgun is if you're out in the field and something breaks on it, you still have a shotgun because you really have two shotguns there. You got two complete separate mechanisms. If you got two triggers, if one firing pin breaks or something, at least you've got a single shotgun you can finish the hunt with.
Sure, of course.
That's very cool that you've had that gun for that long, though. You going to keep that one in the family?
I just love the shotgun. And I've shot lots of shotguns. All different kinds, and friends of mine with Benellis and all kinds of wild stuff.
Right.
And I still love this one, far and above the others. Maybe because it's mine, but it's just the way it shoots. You pick it up and it's pointed right where you want it to go.
Well, and you know the deal. When you find a gun that fits you like that, you never, ever let it go. You just, don't ever let go of that. Hey, Jerry, listen, I appreciate that. I want to talk to James on line one out of Oklahoma. He's got an idea here. Hey, James.
Yeah, this is James.
Yes, sir. I'm Tom. You're James. How you doing?
Okay. I'm calling about this article I just read in our local paper where the state of Oklahoma is trying to change their constitution again on gun rights. Last time they tried to change this 4 years ago, they screwed it up bad. And but I don't know, is something in the paper just didn't strike me right. When they worded the daggone thing, they put in a double negative, which is never not.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've read this or not. It's Resolution 1026 out of Oklahoma City, and they're kind of add words into the Constitution about gun rights.
I tell you what, I've not read that, but I will certainly go look it up and see. Now, are you saying that you don't favor this, or you do favor it?
I just don't understand when the way they've worded it. It sounds like the legislator can go in and rewrite it anytime they want to.
Well, I'll tell you what, I will take a look at it and get an opinion on it, because I'm just offhand, I don't know that particular bill, and I'm not sure if that's the one that they just overrode the governor's veto on. That may be the one, because I think the governor just vetoed a good gun law, and it got overridden. But I'll tell you what, I'll take a look at that, and when I come back from one of the breaks, where I can talk about that one. But I'm sorry, I just don't have it at the top of my head, know which one that is. I appreciate that. Let me talk to Brad on 3 out of Reno, Nevada. Hello, Brad.
Hey, Tom, how's it going? Hey, I was just kind of wondering what, maybe you know more, what's actually up with this powder situation, because I know even a year ago, I was able to find, even the 1 to the 8 pounds worth of powder when I go into my local store here. It was fairly, available. Now I go in and there is like nothing on the shelves.
I tell you what, and I'm finding the same thing. There's just nothing there. I'm going online and it's out of stock, out of stock, out of stock, everywhere you go. Here's what I think is going on. It's the only thing I can think of that makes sense, is that the ammo companies are selling so much loaded ammo. And, they get in line way before we do, because when they place an order for 10 million pounds of powder, they take precedence over you and me trying to buy an 8-pound keg. So I think that probably a lot of our powder is simply going into loaded ammo. What do you think? Oh, guess we must have lost him. Okay, well, I think that's what's going on. I think that our powder that we would like to use for reloading is going into loaded ammo. And that being the case, it's just we have a shortage of powder for loading. If you have any powder, if you used to be a loader, and you're not going to load anymore, you may want to consider finding somebody and selling it, because let me tell you will be shocked at what you can get. Check the prices before you go sell it, because if you bought that stuff for $8 a pound, you could probably get $30 a pound for it now. It's real crazy what the prices are. Same for primers. If you bought primers a long time ago and you got it out of reloading, you can sell those. But before you do, give me a call, because I'll be one. You never know. 866-TALK-GUNS.
Gun Talk stands for safety, personal responsibility, and common courtesy. To be a part of the show, call 1-TOM-TALK-GUN. Gun Talk will be right back.
I'm hoping somebody from Oklahoma can help me out here. In Oklahoma, what is your governor thinking? What was she thinking? Governor Mary Fallin, she vetoed a firearms bill. Okay, this is a bill that basically says the sheriffs there cannot delay applications that come to them because you need the local chief law enforcement officers okay to buy a silencer or a full auto gun, a short barrel rifle, that kind of thing, when you want the NFA $200 tax on it, the tax stamp, that is. And some sheriffs were holding these up, basically just not processing them at all. And this bill was introduced and said they should not be stopping this. If you are okay to buy a gun, if the feds think you're okay, the local sheriff shouldn't stop this. I mean, it went through the House 85-4 or something. And, I mean, it passed. It's going to override a veto. And she vetoes it. Now, this is a governor who wants to run for higher office, it appears, running for re-election. I have it on fairly good authority. She was going to sail through the re-election until she did this knuckleheaded thing. Come on, Governor, this is an anti-gun move. Who was whispering in her ear to do this? What kind of thinking would say, I know they're going to override my veto, but I'm going to veto it anyway to take a stand and make a statement that I'm anti-gun? In Oklahoma? I don't know what's going on, but she's got a political advisor who needs to be fired. Line 3, John's with us out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Hello, John. Talk to me. 16 gauge, eh?
Yes, sir. It's a Model 37. ITHACA. I give it to me by my father back in the 70s.
Turn off that radio behind you, please.
Turn the radio off, honey.
Yeah, you're hearing me echoing back to you. Okay.
Okay.
It's Model 37. That's a great shotgun. So you want to shoot slugs through it, I gather.
Well, I was wondering if I can.
Sure.
I'd like for protection also.
Yeah, you absolutely could shoot slugs through it. The Model 37 was a favorite police shotgun used as police cruisers. And so, I mean, they're made for shooting slugs and buckshot. Now, I don't know what choke you have in it. I wouldn't shoot a lot. If it's got a real tight choke, like a full choke, I probably wouldn't shoot a lot of slugs. But if you're talking about self-defense around the home, absolutely it'd be just fine. One thing I would ask you to do, though, please, it's a nice 16-gauge Model 37. Do not give in to the impulse to chop the barrel down to use it as a self-defense gun. If you want to do that, sell it to somebody who would appreciate a real nice 16-gauge Model 37 and buy yourself a home defense gun, because the Model 37 Ithaca was one of the nicest handling, sweetest handling 16 gauges ever made, I think. So, but that's a very nice gun. Treat it nicely. But yeah, as far as your direct question, sure, you can shoot slugs through it, and it would be an okay self-defense gun. But again, I would just say, because we can't get those anymore, unless they're going to make them again, one never knows. You say never, but stuff happens, man. Guns come back from the dead. It's weird how that happens. But yeah, if you're out shopping for a 16 gauge, if you can find yourself an Ithaca Model 37 pump, man, those are sweet. I love those. I love the 20 gauge 37s. I just think they're delightful. I also like they have a bottom ejection system, and since I shoot left-handed, they're ambidextrous, fully ambidextrous. Right hand, left hand doesn't matter because it ejects to the bottom. So, Ithaca Model 37, one of the true classic shotguns of all time. When we come back, a gun rights group you want to hear about. We'll talk about the Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership. Yes, JPFO. Talk about in your face. These guys get it done. That's what's coming up right here on Gun Talk.
No black helicopters here, just the facts about gun rights and gun ownership. This is Gun Talk.